Happy 4th of July and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with, for his heavyweight debut, Jon Jones prefers Stipe over Ngannou. UFC President Dana White flat out stated last week that the UFC is in talks to have either Francis Ngannou or Stipe Miocic scheduled to take on longtime light heavyweight champion Jon Jones at heavyweight. Jones, who vacated his light heavyweight title back in mid-2020 to move up in weight and challenge the beasts of the heavyweight division, hasn't fought since February 2020. With his heavyweight debut still up in the air, Jones recently let it be known who he prefers to take on first. This is what Jones stated on Twitter over the weekend. At this point, I'm looking to fight Stipe. I think it proves a lot more. Fighting a fairly one-dimensional fighter fresh off of knee surgery? I don't know. I believe beating Stipe says more at this point. Miocic hasn't fought since March 2021 when he was knocked out by Ngannou for the undisputed UFC heavyweight title. Since then, Stipe has been biding his time, letting his body recover, and stated he would want to return later in the year as his wife is due to give birth sometime over the next few months. But he is right now considered the best heavyweight in the history of the division. Miocic is also available to fight much earlier than Ngannou, as the Cameroon native is still recovering from serious knee surgery that will likely keep him out for the remainder of the year. What's your reaction to Jones saying he would rather fight Stipe over Ngannou first? Attention-seeking Khamzat calls out Alex Pereira? The weekend saw Alex Pereira jump the line and be granted a shot at the undisputed UFC middleweight title. He knocked out Sean Strickland within 2 minutes of the first round with a beautiful left hook and finished him off with a right hand that made him the #1 contender for the belt. Not bad for a fighter in just his third bout in the UFC. Pereira, who was the first and only man to have ever knocked out Israel Adesanya, albeit in kickboxing back in 2017, he's being pushed by the promotion to challenge Adesanya, given his skill set, the history between them, and the amount of promotional fuel that this all could generate. Pereira was unranked going into UFC 276, but will now be ranked #1 in the division following his performance. But one guy who's taking this opportunity to get some of that promotional shine and keep his name in the headlines is Khamzat Chimaev. The Chechen Swede made a splash of his own in the promotion, going 5-0 in the UFC and winning his first 2 fights within 10 days of each other in mid-2020 at welterweight and middleweight respectively. He posted this on Twitter over the weekend. "I want to fight with this guy, UFC, Dana White, let's make it." Chimaev, who's coming off a unanimous decision win over Gilbert Burns back in early April, is reportedly set to take on another potential welterweight contender sometime later this year, and speculation is pointing to either Colby Covington or Belal Muhammad. Still, what do you think of Chimaev calling out Pereira? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Max Holloway issues a statement following his loss to pound-for-pound best Alexander Volkanovski. It was a pretty lopsided win for undisputed UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski over the weekend at UFC 276, as he beat Max Holloway to a bloody pulp over 5 rounds. Volk looked just a step ahead in many of the striking exchanges, showing a new level of improvement as he continues his dominant reign atop the 145-pound division. He's clearly got the respect of Max Holloway, who has now lost 3 times to the Aussie. Holloway came into this fight on a 2-fight win streak, having beaten both Calvin Kattar and Yair Rodriguez to get back into a trilogy fight against Volkanovski, and another shot at getting back the featherweight title. But it was not to be, as Holloway dropped a unanimous decision after a tough 25 minutes in which Volk clearly showed he was the better fighter. Now, not long after he lost to Volkanovski, Holloway issued a statement on Twitter, giving respect to Volk, and it was short but sweet. "I'm still up 2-0 on knockdowns for Trilogy. Probably gonna need a 4th to settle this. Just playing. Congrats to my brother Alex Volkanovski. Go get that 55 strap. You earned the shot. You're #1 pound for pound right now." He also tweeted, "To all the fans, do not cry for me, Argentina. This is part of life. We need to rebuild, and we will. I love you." The win put to rest any doubt as to who is the true featherweight king after 2 incredibly close battles between Volkanovski and Holloway. Alexander the Great Volkanovski is on a mean streak of 22 straight wins dating back to 2013. including 12 wins in the UFC and 4 successful title defenses. During the post-fight interview, Volkanovski stated he was ready to move up and challenge for the 155-pound title. He wants to stay active and believes that the featherweight division is not enough and would hold down both divisions if given the chance. What do you think about Holloway's comments here? And do you want to see Volkanovski move up to challenge for the lightweight title? Charles Oliveira calls out Khabib Nurmagomedov. Charles Oliveira has been frustrated over what transpired at UFC 274 after he was stripped of his belt for missing weight by half a pound. While there has been some uncertainty surrounding the whole weigh-in prior to that fight, Oliveira used it as motivation and submitted Justin Gaethje in the very first round of that fight to become the #1 contender. Now, the talk has turned to who could be tapped to fight him for the 155-pound title. There's been speculation that the UFC is looking at Islam Makhachev or Beneil Dariush for this fight, given the uncertainty over when Dariush would be able to come back from injury. Makhachev is also on a 10-fight win streak, compared to Oliveira's 11-fight win streak. Last week, there was talk that the UFC was looking at putting this fight together for October at Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. But Oliveira's camp is publicly countering that narrative and saying that the fight should instead be in Brazil and in January. One of the guys who is pushing the UFC to have Islam challenge Oliveira is Islam's mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib is largely considered to be the GOAT of the lightweight division and one of the legends of the sport. He retired as an undefeated champion in October 2020 and has consistently stated that he's retired from MMA. But over the last week, he's made comments that Islam should fight for the belt in Abu Dhabi and believes that and took offense to when Oliveira said that he could beat Islam. Now, Oliveira is firing back, and in a recent interview in Portuguese for AG Fight, this is what he stated. "Man, the guy was champion, 29 wins in a row, and never said anything. He always sold the fight in a good way, really damn well, and today he is always talking a lot. And if it's to talk, so I'm gonna say it. I'll beat Islam Makhachev and then challenge Khabib. It's the fight that everyone will want to see. Isn't that what everyone will want to see? Everyone says Khabib is tough. I respect him a lot, but lately he's been talking that much." What do you think about Oliveira's comments here? And in a hypothetical fight between Oliveira and Khabib, who would you have your money on?
This is not like Islam or Khabib organization. UFC, they have owners. They make this decision. Okay, if they say Brazil, we love this. Come to Brazil, fight with Brazilian champion and finish him with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style. I love this. What do you think about this? It's gonna be hard?
Very hard.
You think it's gonna be hard? I really believe Islam can finish him on the ground. I really believe this. Okay, you guys gonna now you guys gonna judge me because I believe to Islam, but who cares? Who cares? If they say Brazil, okay, let's go Brazil. I'm like Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo. I fight one time in São Paulo.
Thiago Tavares?
Yeah, Thiago Tavares. It was very short fight, 1.5 minutes. Boom, everybody know. Before fight, everybody say I'm gonna die. After fight, everybody take picture with me. It's gonna be same thing with Islam and Charles Oliveira.
Alex Pereira was not impressed by Israel Adesanya's performance. Alex Pereira is now the #1 contender for the middleweight title. He did it by finishing 2 of his first 3 opponents in the UFC, including a knockout of #4 ranked middleweight Sean Strickland at UFC 276 over the weekend. It was a massive fight for Pereira, as Strickland was, on paper, the toughest opponent he was set to face in his MMA career. But he put away Strickland in the very first round by a left hook and right hand strike to book a future date with undisputed champion Israel Adesanya. In his post-fight interview, Pereira told the crowd to root for Adesanya against Jared Cannonier in the main event in order to make Adesanya-Pereira a reality. Pereira beat Adesanya twice in kickboxing, including a knockout win over Stylebender in their second fight in 2017 in Brazil. That was Adesanya's last fight in kickboxing before he made the full transition to MMA, and the rest is history. But during post-fight interviews for UFC 276, Pereira shared how he was disappointed over the main event, and Adesanya's performance in particular, given the enormity of the crowd and the fact that this was International Fight Week. Case in point, this is what Pereira stated during the post-fight press conference. "It was not a fight that not only didn't excite me, but also did not excite the crowd. I was very sad to see that. So I hope when we fight, he does a better fight than that. For sure, I want to make him fight to give a better show to the crowd." He went on to say this during an interview with TSN's Aaron Bronsteter. What really upsets me is to see the way that he fought tonight, a performance like that, because it is a disrespect to the crowd. I saw thousands and thousands of people here. I couldn't even count how many, and it's sad to see people booing like that during a title fight. People were leaving in round 4 like the fight was over. It really upsets me. So I hope he does a much better fight with me, because otherwise you're screwed. Adesanya beat Cannonier via unanimous decision after 5 rounds. Now, he's set to defend his title against the one and only man who has ever knocked him out in Pereira at a later date. What do you make of Pereira's comments? Do you agree with him? And who is your early favorite to win this middleweight title fight? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to see more videos just like this. See you next time.